And hello and welcome to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host. And as always, thanks so much for being here. I hope you enjoy the show. Well, I have the pleasure of having two guests today, and you'll remember one of them who's been here before, who I hope that you enjoy getting to know again. Her name is Lauren Yarger. She's a producer and playwright of Gracewell Productions. She's also the co-founder of the Connecticut chapter of the League of Professional Theater Women. So I'm thrilled that she's back. And also we have William Linster, who is a composer, a pianist, a music director, and an arranger. So both of them are here today, and I hope you enjoy the show. William and Lauren, thanks so much for being here. Welcome for being here.
Well, thank you for having us, Deborah.
Lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Well, Lauren, since you've been here before, why don't we start with you? You're on the hot seat.
Oh, dear.
Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself? Take us back into your background. Introduce yourself again.
Oh, okay. Well, you did a good job there. I'm a producer with Gracewell Productions, and here in Connecticut, I've been doing a reading series. I have one at the Palace Theater, which we'll be talking about today. It's called the Table Reading Series. And then last summer, I did another at the Ivoryton Playhouse. It was called Staged Intent. And with the Connecticut chapter for the League of Professional Theater Women, we're sort of a branch of the New York League. And we have lots of activities every month. We have luncheons and events and things happening. We attend shows together. And when our members have events or shows happening, we go to those and support them. So it's a great organization. If you're a woman in theater and you're in Connecticut, you should be contacting me about that.
Wonderful. And William, why don't you take a moment and introduce yourself to our viewers?
Sure. Thanks again for having me. My name is William Linster. As you said, I'm a composer primarily, but also been music director in various capacities and arranger in certain capacities. Right now we've been working on some musicals that I had written with my late creative partner, Larry Alexander. We're getting those on their feet right now. Starting with, we had a very successful reading here in Connecticut of Hurricane Jimmy, which was a new musical of mine, and also now we're preparing very enthusiastically for a very interesting reading at the Palace Theater of my new musical Quentin, produced by Lauren Yarger and Gracewell Productions, and I could not be happier about that.
Lauren and William, why don't we take a moment, because that's one of the reasons why you're here. Lauren, why don't we talk about your collaboration with William? What is happening at the Palace Theater?
Well, on April 13th, we have the final presentation of the Table Reading Series, this series this year. And it's going to be William's musical. We had started off thinking it was going to be a different presentation. And when that didn't come together, I had an opening, and I know that I have had some experience dealing with William and other things before. And Carol Ziski, who is the director of this reading for us, had mentioned that William was working on another musical about Quentin, who is the son of Theodore Roosevelt. And I didn't know where that was, but when I had this opening, I mentioned to her, I said, well, what about that musical William's writing about Quentin? And sure enough, they had just kind of put everything together and finished up the draft, I guess it was, of the script and whatever, and they were feeling like they were ready for a reading. But the Gracewell series at the Palace, we haven't done any musicals there. It's kind of a small room and a smaller feel to usually what is a play given a reading. And I thought, I don't know about a musical. I don't know if we could do that. But it turned out that William just really wanted to focus on Act One and see the development of that and what he had with that. And that seemed a little more manageable. So that is what we are presenting.
And William, how has this been for you? What is the process that you go through to be able to present a production such as this with Gracewell Productions? Well,
to start off, you make sure you have great people around you, and that's one thing I've had from the get-go. With Lauren, as in addition to our incredible director Carol Ziski, and the wonderful people that we have on board for this. But we basically the process of sort of winnowing this show down for a one-act presentation was an interesting one. It was, basically I had to go through the script, and we cut it down from, I would say upwards of 60 some pages down to 40 pages around there, and we cut 8 songs from Act 1. But in the process, it's interesting because you find that when you cut it like that, you really examine what works and what you don't really need, and it's an interesting process. But in addition to that, it was just going through and basically preparing the music for singers, which is always an interesting process because I recorded the demos for it, but this is the first time actually now in our rehearsal process that I have the great privilege of hearing others, other great actors sing the songs. And that's another really interesting thing because you see through that, what works, what should be changed, little technical things, and or other things you think, oh, I thought this could be really something when I was writing it and recording it, and this now is proving, yeah, I think I was right about that. There's something here. So it's but at the end of the day, it's all a wonderful experience.
Lauren, why don't we go back to you? Tell us about Gracewell Productions. What does that mean?
Well, it's just the name of my production company, but basically I'm looking for inspirational works, works that, that really touch the audience. And these reading series have been a wonderful tool for the actors and for the playwrights, now for the composer, to see what they have. I don't know if your viewers are aware of the process when you write a play, but one of the parts of getting from when you finish the script on the computer to getting it up for a full production, say you're going to Broadway or wherever it is, there's a lot of steps in between there where you're developing and you're rewriting and you're retooling. And a reading, there are different kinds of readings. And some of them are simply readings where the playwright with a couple of people sit around a table and just read through it, and they kind of see what do they have and where is it going. There are readings where you have usually a small select audience of people who come and provide audience feeling in the room, and the actors sit with music stands in front of them with the script open, and they read the script that way. And there are staged readings where there's a little bit more development of what's happening and scene changes and things like that to give an idea. But the idea of all of those is for the playwright, because when you write the play, you're sort of in this tunnel, and what you've meant to say in the play, and you think the characters are fully developed and all of that, or you hope they are. And then you hear other people read it and give you the dialogue back. In this case, William will hear songs and what they sound like and how the actors are reacting to singing. I mean, if there's notes they can't hit or whatever. But I mean, you get a real time feeling for what you have on the paper, and you'll find sometimes that some things are working, some things are not. You're going to have to go back and take a whole scene out or rewrite a scene or rethink a whole character maybe isn't working, but it's the process of fine-tuning the play so that eventually you'll have a finished product that you can get up for a full production.
And William, it says in your bio, pianist, composer, music director, arranger, but you're mentioning composer. How did you come about knowing that that was going to be your path in life? Did you study for that?
Yes, partially at least. I went to the New School for Jazz Contemporary Music in New York for my bachelor's in music or in fine arts, I should say. And basically in doing that, it was an interesting situation because I knew that there were so many different facets of music and of performing arts in general that I loved so much, but I didn't know which avenue to take in my career. And it was an interesting thing, because one thing I found about going to school like that in that sort of conservatory program is that one of the best things that you experience is you find out very quickly what you don't want to do. Or, you know, it's when you're exposed to it, like you may think that you may really like to do something, you know, on paper it sounds really good, or you had a dream to do something, and then when you get into the nitty-gritty of the practice of doing a certain thing, a certain facet of, let's say, music, you might not be as passionate as you thought you would be. But the way that I got into composing was interesting, because I was doing some arranging work in New York for a new musical, and this was during my freshman year of college. And the people that I was working with, the producers, said, you know, we have this friend of ours who's a librettist, a lyricist and a book writer, and he's got the script. And at that time, that was for our first show, which was an adaptation of a film. But they go, we have this. He has this script. He's looking for a composer. Now, at that time, I knew that I'd always loved musical theater. I'd done a lot of it growing up, whether in pits or on the stage, and also I loved, but performing, and actually playing the music. I didn't really have any experience writing it, but it's interesting because, I said, hey, sure, I'll go ahead and give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? And so I took a look at the script. We got in contact, Larry and I. That was Larry Alexander, and so basically he gave me a couple lyrics to try my hand at, and I sent him back what I came up with. He loved it, and 5 years later, we wrote 4 shows together, and unfortunately he passed away in 2022. But it was through going through that whole process and really, just something that I really never would have paid much attention to, which would be composing for musical theater, that I really think I found what I want to do with my career, primarily at least.
Okay. And Lauren, the Connecticut chapter of the League of Professional Theater Women, which you have been co-founder of, tell us what that organization's all about.
Well, it's basically a connector for any women who are in the state of Connecticut who are working in theater professionally. Before we formed the chapter, there were, women all over the state. We have a lot of theaters here in Connecticut. We have 15 or more professional theaters, and then there are a lot of other community theaters and other type theaters. So lots of women working in theater, but no way to really connect and know what everybody else was doing. So this way, through our lunches and events, we have a way of networking now and finding out who's who and who's doing what, and inviting you to my thing and I go to your thing, and it's that kind of a thing. And exciting news is that we are going to be putting together and launching a statewide celebration of women in theater next year in 2025. We will be producing a number of events in conjunction with that, and also sort of be the hub for anything happening during the month of March, which is Women's History Month. So a lot of women things happen at theaters, but we'll be the hub of all of that and letting people know what's happening around the state. We'll have things all over the state happening so that you don't have to travel very far to get to something to support that. So we're very excited about that.
Speaking of that, how about Gracewell Productions or the League? What does 2024 look like? I know that you're busy. Thankfully, I'm a new associate member of the organization. I get the newsletter. Things are busy with the League. How about with Gracewell Productions?
Well, after this reading on April 13th at the Palace, that closes the series there. And then I will really be concentrating on that statewide celebration for next year. So I don't have any other series or anything planned for Gracewell. The chapter has a couple of networking lunches coming up. One is on April 4th and that'll be in Washington, Connecticut. We have quite a few people coming to that. There's an amazing amount of women who are down in that area of the state who are going to come and meet and greet, which will be great. And we have another event we haven't got a date on yet, but we're planning to get together at Ivoryton. They have a production coming up. Gosh, the name of it unfortunately is going to escape my head, but it's all women. It's a women's issue kind of play with an all women cast involved. So we'll probably set up a time where we can gather outside and have pizza together under the gazebo or something like that, and then go see that production together.
Okay, why don't we take a moment and take a break? I'm Deborah Gilbert. You are tuned into Arts and Entertainment. We're going to take a moment and take a break. We'll be right back.
Better Business Bureau has received thousands of complaints related to travel insurance. Many don't realize that it doesn't typically cover the cancellation of a trip out of fear of traveling or concerning travel advisories unless you purchase a policy that includes cancel for any reason coverage. And even then, certain things are listed as exclusions. So you must read the fine print. Before purchasing travel insurance, consider that travel insurance is intended to help with unexpected events, not things like forecasted hurricanes. Once an event is a known event, meaning it's been forecasted or anticipated, it may not be considered a covered reason for cancellation if a traveler books a trip after that date. Before purchasing a policy or trying to file a claim, read the specifics on what the policy does and doesn't cover. You can find more travel tips at bbb.org/travel.
And welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host. And again, I hope you're enjoying the show. My conversation continues on with Lauren Yarger and William Linster. And why don't we take a moment and talk about the websites? William, why don't you talk about williamlinster.com? What would the viewer find when they visit it?
Well, I have to say that I have been a little bit behind in updating it with my latest projects. Should someone go to the website, they will find basically a bio of myself and basically there was a section regarding some of the details for one of the shows that we're developing, Hurricane Jimmy, on there in terms of a synopsis and things of that nature, as well as some links to various social media and ways to follow me and to hear about the latest projects.
And Lauren, what about gracewellproductions.com? What will the viewer find there?
Well, usually updates and follow-ups about the productions that we are doing. And also there are links there to, I'm also a theater critic. I'm a member of the Outer Critics Circle. And so there's links there to reviews of shows that I've written, shows that I've written reviews of, shows that I've written. Pretty much anything that has to do with me can be found on that page.
William, we had mentioned Lauren's 2024 calendar. How about you? Do you have things planned for 2024 or even 2025?
Well, right now we had such a great, very successful staged reading in November of Hurricane Jimmy that we're in the process also now of putting together another reading and potentially a concert version of the show in a form closer to New York, if not in the city itself, and basically just taking it up a notch with in terms of live performers, because what we did with the stage reading in November was we had my pre-recorded demo tracks that were featured as the music, but as this experience with Quentin and with the April 13th reading has informed me, it's quite a different animal when you throw in singing actors and the whole musical component live. So that should be an interesting thing. So we're going to be in the process really more after April 13th. We're looking probably at the late spring or summertime for that, in addition to various other things.
William, would you consider your work musical theater? I mean, are they performance plays? Do you get to be able to have an audience that comes to see you?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I would say that for me, it's really it's all about the audience. A very close friend of mine, once very wisely told me to know your audience, and that's one of the main things is paying attention to what the audience is going to respond well to. And so, yes, of course, the audience. There's always going to be an audience involved in whatever sort of production that I do, including and especially on April 13th.
Tell us about April 13th, Lauren. I know, as I said before, that's one of the reasons why we're here. And is it taking a risk to do a musical? How is it going through this production for you? Is it a growing experience?
Well, I've done musicals before. I just haven't done one as part of the series. And for me, I'm going to take full credit for it when it's a big success. But the key to it is really having really good people put it together. So, I mean, I have all the confidence in the world in Carol Ziski, who's the director. She's amazing. We have to do very little, but yet, like I said, take credit for it all when it's a big success. She's put together a terrific team. They have an amazing production presentation. It sounds like I'll see a rehearsal coming up soon. I haven't been at any of the rehearsals yet. But I'll see kind of what's in the works. But it sounds like it's in line with what we've done as part of this series, which is really more than just a reading. I mean, this series has not been a bunch of people just sitting reading from a script. It really feels as if you've seen production. There's a lot more interaction between the actors. In this case, I believe we have costumes. And I mean, it really is visual as well as you're going to be hearing the music. You're going to have an experience. So our audience is really going to be treated to something special. In fact, this one is completely sold out at the moment. We really have not had an extra seat yet anywhere, and we have a waiting list for it. So it's obviously a success before we ever get in the door. But I think this audience is going to be very thrilled with what they see and what they get to participate in. It'll be different because, again, it'll have some music components to it, which we haven't had before. And they're right at the very ground floor of this musical. This is the first presentation in front of an audience of any kind. So they really become very important. They will influence William in terms of he'll see, if there are funny lines and no one laughs, he'll have a sense that that's not working. And if people really love the music, he'll be very encouraged. And so it really will help inform him as he goes forward with the musical.
And William, with regards to this production, if it is a hit and you're very pleased with it, and of course if Lauren's pleased with it, that would be even greater, what happens to the production from there? Do you do it as a full show after that?
Well, I think that because we're doing it as an Act 1 sort of a reading for this, I think that logically the next best step would be, okay, if Act 1 was successful, well, let's see how the entire thing is done in one full piece with both acts, and going from there, if that's good and we're pleased with it. I would love to do a full production. I think that that's always the goal, and just onward and upward, I see.
As we're starting to run out of time, Lauren, I don't want to forget, because the League is very important to many people that are already in it, but probably somebody that's listening right now would be very interested to become a part of it. How does somebody put themselves in front of you or in the other co-founders to be able to be a part of the organization?
Well, we have a monthly newsletter that goes out, and you don't have to be a member of the chapter to receive that, but it does give you all of our information about what's happening and what's taking place with the chapter, but also just other news from women involved in theater around the state. So that's usually the first step. Is it's easy to find out what's going on, and then you can come and you can attend a lot of events without being a member as well, like our luncheons, our networking luncheons. So you can get a feel for who we are and what we're about without having to commit to becoming a member. To do that, you can just, we have a website. It's Connecticut Theater Women and then .wordpress.com. And if you go to that website, there's a way to contact us, and you can just ask to be put on the list for the newsletter, or ask about, the next event coming up and how to get involved, and we'll get back to you right away.
Have you found, Lauren, that there's interest from other, are there other theater women that are finding out about it that would like to become a part of it? Is it becoming known out there? People may know about the New York chapter, but I mean, do they know about the Connecticut chapter?
They are more and more. We've been here, this is our 8th season here. So each year we've seen more women coming and becoming involved. And I think word of mouth has been helping, and people come and get involved, and then they have a friend who's in theater and they mention it. And so, yes, we seem to have, every month we have more women applying to become members of the chapter. And then we reach about 300 women right now in the state. So that's kind of a nice large number, but I know that it's not even beginning to touch the number of women who are actually out there. So yes, we need to continue to get the word out and let them know that we're here, and we're here as a support and an advocate for them and what they're doing.
William, as we start to run out of time, any closing thoughts for the viewers? How about those individuals that are like yourself that would like to get into the industry? Any advice as to how they can get started?
Well, I would say to the people that are interested and would like to get started, the first and probably the best course of action for that, the best thing you can do, is just to start writing something. I think that it's always interesting to, what everybody has to say in some capacity. Everybody has a story to tell. And I would say that, don't be afraid to reach out to people that you look up to. I mean, people that, potentially are have more expertise than you, ideally. And sort of pick their brain on things. Ask them, how did you get involved with so-and-so or whatever, something like that. And at the end of the day, just the other thing is to not get discouraged. To not get discouraged, rather. And because it is an industry of that is, filled with rejection, but it's, if at the end of the day, sort of my philosophy is that if you like it, if you like what you're writing and you like, what you're creating, chances are there's someone out there who will also like it as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lauren and William. I appreciate your time. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You have been tuned in Arts and Entertainment. Hope you have a super day today. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.